Today's video and recipe comes from the official Disney Parks Cookbook, and it's actually inspired from one of the resorts at Disneyland, and it's called a Charred Nebraska Corn Chowder. So it's a soup dish. I'll show you the picture here real quick. So this soup dish is actually a cream soup, and I really love a good cream soup, and I thought it was a good time of year to make it because it's actually early September. So we're kind of transitioning from summer to fall, so I'm like starting to feel fall flavors, fall things, and this actually uses fresh corn on the cob, so it's still a good time to make it because it's still pretty available around here where I live, but it's not going to be for much longer, so it seemed like a perfect time to whip this soup together. Some of the other ingredients it mentions, just quick overview of it. And again, I'm not going to give the entire recipe. If you want the entire recipe, I recommend you buy the cookbook. But there's things like bacon, some potatoes, some heavy cream, and also it mentions chicken meat and just says pulled chicken meat. So when I saw that originally, I was like, oh, I'm just going to buy one of those whole roasted chickens you can buy at the store because I can pull off the meat and then I'll have it for other things. So I kind of went that route. Actually, my grocery store already had chicken off those whole chickens already packaged up that you could buy. There's a few steps involved with that. Like the first thing is that you actually take the corn in its husks, so you don't take the husks off, and you oven roast it for about a half hour to get that roasted flavor. And you let that cool, and then you cut the corn off the ear, and then you saute it in the pan and add everything together. So we're gonna start putting this recipe together and see how it goes.
So here I have all of my ingredients ready to go, and I am throwing the bacon into the pan to saute first. After the bacon has been sauteed, I added a little onion and a few other ingredients. I'm just mixing them up to let them cook. Pouring in the rest of my ingredients here, such as the corn that has been cut off of the cob. Of course, the potatoes. A good stir. And of course, you need to add the chicken broth. Everything is mixed together and simmering for a little bit. In a small pan off to the side that you can't see, I'm now preparing to melt my butter. Once it's melted, I'll add some flour to it that will create a paste that I will add to the simmering soup. Here's the soup simmering.
Okay, I've got a bowl of the soup here. We're gonna give it a little bit of a taste test. I sprinkled some little bit of bacon on top like it suggested. It mentioned cilantro and stuff, but I didn't have any handy, but all right. Yeah, that's really good. It's really, really creamy. I love a really good cream soup. So far, so good. Time for the final thoughts and reviews on the Charred Nebraska Corn Chowder. It was a really good soup. I really enjoyed it. The potatoes, the corn, the chicken, the bacon, it all just worked well together. And I really love a good cream soup as well, especially on a chilly day. So it was a big hit. My husband really enjoyed it as well. So I think this was a wonderful surprise in our house and a really good recipe to have. Now, let's get into the ranking system. The first up is the ingredients on a scale of 1 to 5, where everything is 1 is basically not a lot, simple, easy to find, inexpensive ingredients, with 5 being harder to find, more expensive, or a lot of ingredients that you need to purchase. You're not gonna put this at like a 2, 2.5. Nothing on the list is super hard to find. There are several things you have to buy. I mean, there's like 10 to 12 items in this list that you have to purchase if you don't have them already as far as ingredients go. And it does call for corn on the cob because you have to roast it in the oven in the husk. So if you don't have that handily available, depending on the time of the year, that could be a little bit more difficult. That can also restrict it as far as when you can actually make it. As far as difficulty of making this recipe on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 really easy and 5 kind of hard, I'm gonna put it at like a 2.5 as well, maybe a 3. It's not actually that hard, but it is a little time consuming. You do have to roast the corn in the oven for a little bit. Then you got to put the soup together and you got to let it simmer. And then there's the extra saucepan where you have to make the kind of paste to put in there to help thicken the soup. So there's a little bit more steps involved that make it a little bit more complicated, and not just, you know, throw everything in a pot and let it simmer and cook. So that way I'm going to bump the difficulty up to, you know, definitely a 3. Now that I'm saying that out loud, you know, maybe a 3.5, but still very manageable and doable for basic everyday people. Then on a scale of 1 to 5, would I make this again? With a 1 being never, 0% chance, with a 5 being definitely 100% chance, I'm gonna give it a 5. We really like this soup and I can definitely see making it in the future.